Are we not live? Oh, we should be live. Should be live. I'll figure it out. There we go. Start. Let us open this one. I'm curious what happens if I do this. Oh, it just closes. No, it doesn't. I can see it. Wow. So I want this one. That's a picture-in-picture, right? Want it over the full screen. There we go. Perfect. Yeah, you can go up in that corner. Why not? Okay, before I just jump into that, let me just shimmy on over, see what I want to play. I can probably finish The Life of Pi. I might lose, but we'll have a new save slot. Okay, AI art's vital. This apparently AI art is flatlining, which I think is probably the opposite of the truth. But let's see. This is this restaurant. I am definitely losing. How many? 7 groups. I have 1 table. Oh, I'm so fucked. Oh, it's this run. Yeah, it's this. This is the run where I just start saving up infinite numbers of apples. I remember this run. Oh, okay. This is fucking hilarious. You're here, right? Oh, no. You are... Oh, we can put you there. Okay, cool. This is where the door is. I'm a bit fiddly. Oh, it's been so long since I've played this. Okay, let's sit up ahead. Why? Why? How do I do that? How do I fix the bitrate? I'll look that up some point in time. Yeah, whatever. Okay, oh, I've done it. So this is overtime. Oh. Then I don't really care anymore. Do we have it? Queue stop table patient secrecy. Do you want to copy the rug? Probably want to copy the rug. Do I care enough to copy the rug? Not really. So this is a grab flour. This is a pie restaurant, right? We make meat pies. This guy is doing the washing. Somewhat erratically, I must admit. This is where we do non-meat pies, and this is our apple production facilities. Okay, good. Yeah, that's another cauldron. Let's just start the video and start the day.
You know it is dying. In fact, it's a ticking time bomb ready to explode.
Actually, no. I'm gonna start the day. I'm gonna do a little bit of a warm up, and then we'll do it. Oh, no. That's where apples spawn. We can't have a U there instead of apples. You want 2 meat pies, right? I'm way too... Oh, I'm way too slow. I'm gonna lose so hard. Please don't desserts. Please don't desserts. Oh, there were no desserts. We're probably just gonna use an apple here. Does that do both of them? Or is it one customer's order? Oh, it is one customer. Why is it not? Oh, you need to put it there. I forgot that. Such a weird ass system. Okay. Good God, I'm so slow right now. Do I have mushrooms too? Or is it all meat? I can't see where my mushrooms would be. It's all meat. Oh yeah, it's their hats. That's why I'm confused. I'm just gonna give them some apples. So the thing is, if they want pumpkins, well, yeah, that's why we have these, right? I remember at a certain point in this game, I just started doing tricks for all of them, which is probably not the wisest play. But it was so much, it's such a weird thing. I just liked it. Okay, you guys are definitely getting an apple each. Oh. The undrawing is so bad. Please leave. Yes, thank you. Ah, no! Stop picking up the wrong thing. I'm supposed to be good at this. Yeah, I'm gonna make the pumpkin. Oh no, we're done. Ah, the apples are helpful, but oh shit, balls. Okay, the apples are helpful, but honestly, you can get really far, I think, with the apples. So we just need to upgrade flowers then, I guess? Yeah, let's just upgrade flowers and just make an apple restaurant. Amazing. I don't remember what the sink enchants into. Okay, so this is fairly straightforward. Our bathroom break. I'm gonna do a food break. So any full screen, let's close that. Go to that. Go to that.
Want to know why? Welcome to the Iron Man Talk. It's a ticking AIR, as you know it, is dying. In fact, it's a ticking time bomb ready to explode. Want to know why?
Yep.
Welcome to the Iron Man Talk. My name is Sean, and make sure you pay attention to all the points in this video because I predict that in the next 2 to 5 years, AIR, as you know, will be dead, all the hype will be gone, and all the users will be gone too. Here's why. The first and most obvious glaring reason as to why I think AIR is going to die very soon is simply because of the fact that their users, which let's not call them users, let's call them customers, they are not loyal customers. And when I say that, it's because they were not attracted to art for the right reasons. This is no different than if I tell anybody why they got into commissions for the wrong reasons too.
Okay. He's gonna make a point. I'll refresh it because I haven't had it open.
AIR, as you know it.
So, he was gonna make a point, but I just found it hilarious. And since the refresh thing, we can watch it again.
Is dying. In fact, it's a ticking time bomb ready to explode. Want to know why? Welcome to the Iron Man Talk. My name is Sean, and make sure you pay attention to all the points in this video because I predict that in the next 2 to 5 years, AIR, as you know, will be dead, all the hype will be gone, and all the users will be gone too. Here's why. The first...
Let's take a moment. All the hype will be gone. All the users will be gone. Big claims. Let's go on.
First and most obvious glaring reason as to why I think AIR is going to die very soon is simply because of the fact that their users, which let's not call them users, let's call them customers, they are not loyal customers. And
the first and most glaring reason is because the customers aren't loyal customers. Are you kidding me? Companies care about loyal customers. Industries do not. So, if I'm going to buy all my steel from Jimmy's old steel mill, he cares if I'm a loyal customer. If, on the other hand, I am going to... Oh god, this is the dirty one. If, on the other hand, I'm going to... we're discussing a future where steel replaces iron, then I don't care about being supportive of Jimmy's old steel mill, and whether or not I'm a loyal customer of Jimmy's old steel mill won't actually have any bearing on whether or not the steel industry gets going. So if this is the first and most glaring problem, and it's not a problem...
When I say that, it's because they were not attracted to art for the right reasons.
Because we're not attracted to art for the right reasons. Now, he's going to make a point here. I heard it. We all heard it. I didn't pause it fast enough last time. He's going to make a point here. I'm sure it's an interesting point. I just think it's absurdly stupid to go out and say, you're not getting into it for the right reasons and placing such a moral onus on it. What are the reasons? Or what you're interested in here is they're not getting into it for the most productive reasons, the most sustainable reasons. That's what you're interested in. These may be right or wrong, depending on how you view things. Is there boons in this? No.
This is no different than if I tell anybody why they got into commissions for the wrong reasons too. They got into AI generation, they got into that form of art, if you want to call it that, because of the potential for getting attention, getting clout, or maybe generating like crazy sales, which no one's doing anyways.
I'm thinking, how do I say this without being rude? And then I'm realizing that's my whole shtick. I'm rude all the time. That's the whole point. This is completely fucking retarded. Not only is it a straw man because it says... because it's hyperbolizing the goal. The goal being, if you want to get clout, you want to get recognition, you want to be famous. You're implying that it's like they're only satisfied if they reach above and beyond. They only reach the 1% goal. But as you've mentioned, the goal is to make profits. And the goal then isn't necessarily to make extreme amounts of profits. And let me make a very simple example. I want to make YouTube videos. I can barely draw. I can maybe sketch something out. But I can write. I do a lot of writing. I like writing. And so when I want to make videos, I add some images. And either I can spend hours and hours drawing them myself. I could pay someone hundreds of kroners, tens of dollars, to draw something for me, and it would be of decent quality. Or I could plug in 3 words into an AI generator and get out an image which is good enough. Because what's interesting here is what we want to achieve here is good enough. We want everyone to be able to produce types of content which are satisfying and interesting, and or not just produce content. People, if art has a function to society, if it's useful to people, then having more people have access to it increases the usefulness of this thing. That's why I'm getting into it.
Cloud, or maybe generating like crazy sales, which no one's doing anyways. So because of that, because there is a lack of sincere interest in art, and actually
A lack of sincere interest in art, as in aesthetics? What do you mean?
learning something about art, they are
Why do you need to know something about art? That's insane. Most of the most genius, successful... Okay, does a football player know about physics? But no, but he uses physics to shoot the goal. You don't actually need to understand the thing to be able to use it.
are not in it for the right reasons, and they are going to flee. Now, when are they going to flee? Very simply put, y'all, when the glory is gone. Because AI art serves its users a very cheap and quick dopamine hit every single time. It is not producing a long and sustained fulfillment that normal art making does give to real artists. Now,
To the real artist, yes. As a creator, as you are making the art, it is less satisfying to you to make. It's also cheaper, easier, no effort. Ta-da! My beer back. Gotta get something to wipe my hands with.
Now, because of that, as soon as AI art changes, if it were ever to shut down or anything else happened to it,
What are you talking about?
they would be gone. They would never make art again in their life. However, though,
What are you talking about? If something changes, they'll never use it again. That's absurd. Even the implication here is you're pointing out flaws. If there are changes that fix those flaws, ta-da! It fails on the face of it.
I'll tell you this.
We're not even 2 minutes in. You're
if the
imbecile.
opposite were to happen and AI were to just take over the whole world, which it won't anyways, then artists would still be making
Want
art.
to bet?
You can't say that for the opposite audience, though, could you?
Okay, what's that statement mean? Artists would still be making art. Yes, they just wouldn't be getting paid for it, which is fine. I think that's a fair point of view in the world. Artists would still be making art, but if all normal art took over the world, which it currently does, then AI artists wouldn't? What are you talking? That's exactly the opposite of what you've witnessed is happening. We're witnessing AI art come into existence in a world dominated by traditional art and having a big impact. Having people genuinely doing this, even though it's literally disproven by the phenomena you're addressing.
If you're not in art for the right reasons, for sincere reasons, for personal fulfillment, and for really intrinsic reasons,
For personal fulfillment. If you're not in art for personal fulfillment, you can't make art. Well, that's fine. Then we don't make art. Then we make cynical advertisements. Then we make produce videos which somehow aren't art, even though I'm using. Okay. My example of wanting to have images to my writing and using my own voice to speak them instead of just sitting in front of a camera and telling people things like I'm doing right now. Shut up, me. I'm not so smart. Anyway, if we're in this weird world where you need to genuinely want to create things, that the only way, the delusion here is that it doesn't sort of see the change that AI art is offering. It doesn't sort of acknowledge the whole thing that AI art is. Yeah, sure, it's removing a lot. It's removing the whole process of learning how to draw, of creating something yourself. And what it's doing is it removing all of that, and also a lot of the price, a lot of the effort, a lot of the resources. It removes a lot of the time. Instead of teaching someone to draw over decades, you teach a computer to draw over months. Instead of teaching... it's inherently ridiculous. Where am I? There I am. Good on me. So, yes, teaching... it's good.
Then it's just not gonna last. You ever thought about that?
I have now, and goddamn, I wish I hadn't.
No doubt heard how AI art has made advances, and they're now rolling out new things. There's control that. There's in-painting. There's out-painting. It's no longer just simple prompting. And
I want to jump back a little bit. I know I shouldn't do this when we're going so slowly.
Really intrinsic reasons. Then it's just not gonna last. You ever thought about that?
Okay, this offends me, because this is saying, well, if you're not getting into it for the right intrinsic reasons, and I'm just like, okay, yes, now he's gonna get to what the intrinsic reasons are. Ever thought about that? No, that's a rhetorical device used. It's called an appeal to incredulity. It's essentially saying, this is so obvious, everyone should be able to see it. No, I disagree. Prove your point. Otherwise, you're a retard.
You've no doubt heard how AI art has made advances, and they're now rolling out new things. There's control that. There's in-painting. There's out-painting. It's no longer just simple prompting. And no doubt that there's going to be things every once in a while that'll come up, and it'll be this new perceived revolution. But well, someone call it advances. I'm going to call it what it really is. It's a gimmick, because they have to build and implement so many different technologies just to try and fix everything that's horribly wrong and perpetually flawed with everything that AI makes. And you really got to sit down and admit this here. Every single time that there is a new gimmick that comes out here, it's basically just like DLC content for like Call of Duty. Now, here's the really important part about
I have to admit something which is obviously false on like 17 different counts. Most obvious, you don't pay for it. These new DLC contents are patches. It's like buying a game, and oh no, there's so many bugs, so many glitches, it doesn't work. Oh, this doesn't, if you do that, then it breaks it. And then they patch it, and it's better. That's the metaphor you're looking for, you imbecile.
these gimmicks. They're necessary, because without the gimmicks, without the cheap little...
Okay, it's poisoning the well. That's why he wanted to use the word gimmick, so he can be flippantly dismissive of it all the time. Gimmicks, as he calls them, improvements, are indeed something you add all the time to make a product better. It's like when you improve your art, you become better at the thing you do. The only difference is that machines do it like jaggedly, like they're flat, and then they go up, and then they go flat, and then they go up. Whereas like a human being goes like this, it goes gradually up and up and up and up. But the advantage then of a computer is it can go faster up and up, because it's all about how reducing the gaps between these leaps, which you can just do by pumping more money into, funnily, or in most cases you can pump more money into.
little fixes to make the artwork, like a little 2% better every single time.
Yeah, incremental improvement. That's very good. Very important that even for improving your craft, writing, drawing, whatever you want to do, incremental improvement is very important. Very important to use to motivate yourself.
Then they're not going to keep their user base interested, and they will flee.
Why does this not apply to anyone else who has incremental improvements?
And it needs to be like this. They need to implement cheap little tricks or cheap little gimmicks like this all the time, because if they don't...
Cheap little gimmicks, improvements. Cheap improvements too, even better. Cheap and fast improvements. 2% improvements every couple of months is mind-bogglingly faster than all humans that I've ever, except like at the beginning of your art career when you have like massive improvements, right? This is horrendous. Computers are just better at learning than we are.
Then they know that their customer base...
Sorry, computers are better at repeating patterns than we are.
They're gonna go because it gets boring and they don't like what they can't do. So let me ask you this, friend. What's gonna happen when all of those tricks...
Okay, it gets boring, not gonna happen whatsoever. I mean, because that's the same argument, right? You fail on the same point. Why does not other art get boring? For the same reason. It's the same mechanism of incremental improvements. Doesn't make any sense. Does not... Okay, can't do that voice anyway. I would be doing an imitation of an imitation in any case. Okay, what was the last thing you said?
So let me ask you this, friend. What's gonna happen when all of those tricks are all at their limit? When they hit everything that they think that they can do and it's still flawed? What's gonna...
Well, yeah, like normal art? What are you talking about? What's gonna happen when it's still flawed after it hits all those limits? It's going to be a system or a tool like all other tools. A saw, wobbly and bendy, oh my god, how useless. A kitchen knife, you can't even cut bread with that. It's like such a stupid point to make. Somebody send some sense into this, man.
Gonna happen? Their customers are gonna leave. Same thing happens.
Why? Okay,
when
wait.
games get old, people get tired of playing.
Okay. And... Okay. So he thinks that this is a game, a video game. Like, yeah, okay, that's an interesting metaphor. I like the metaphor. I like that metaphor earlier. Like a video game. I think the main problem here, the main difference here is that, or it's a video game where you bring something out. When I have a high score in place of, my best achievement is, okay, actually that doesn't open PlayTab. I'm an idiot. But, oh my god. Yeah. When I achieve something in a video game, showing it to other people doesn't make sense. They don't understand the value of it. If I make a drawing in Midjourney, showing it to other people does make sense. They can understand it.
Them, and that is what AI art is producing the effect of. Haven't you noticed?
Haven't you noticed? I really... See, this is such a typical point. This is like, at this point, any human being watching this, if you're a critical thinker, you can know, based on the number of fallacies, the number of times he has appealed to incredulity, the number of times he has said, don't you know, haven't you noticed, don't you see, don't you... You have to admit, all of these attempts and guiding you into a position without appealing to reason. I've gotten, in these minutes, these 3.5 minutes, I've gotten so many more fallacies than I have arguments. So much less evidence for his claims, so much less exploring of the ideas. It's just like, well, this is obviously what's gonna happen because it's just like video games and all the patterns are the same and I'm not gonna draw any examples because that's for idiots. I don't understand how it is how this continues to happen that people who are so blatantly stupid aren't seen as such. And that's what this YouTube channel is going to be all about. It's going to be about me exploring this wide world of complete sophistry that I see constantly everywhere I go, and asking, are you sure? Because all that I know is that I know nothing, but you seem oh so certain. And I want you to please bring us that certainty with a little bit more argument and a little bit less supposition.
If you're currently an AI user and you're sitting hoping at some point that your AI generations are going to give you some type of job opportunity in the future, some type of sustainable career, I just want to ask you this. Why would anybody pay you to prompt? Why would anybody...
Okay. Interesting question. People would pay me to prompt. Okay, let's suppose I'm an artist. I want to make it as art. I don't want you to use this product for something else, which is the obvious way in where it's going to outcompete artists easily. Because I don't care about making something as good as this. This is a nice drawing. I don't need this quality of drawing to make my point. If I want to make the point that actually the story of Alexander and the Phrygian knot is a good example of like why Trump is weird. Go watch that video, by the way. Thank you. Shorts. Very good. Then I don't need this quality image. I just need like a Trumpish figure with like Greek clothes and maybe a knot and maybe a sword. That's it. I don't need high quality. But let's actually address the question he's giving us. Why would someone pay me to write a prompt over paying an artist? And that's because I would take much less money for what I do. Somebody who writes a prompt can write 1,000 prompts. And at the same time, a person can write pictures worth 1,000 words, right? Well, funnily enough, I can write 1,000 words by the time you draw one single picture. And actually, I write a lot more probably, but it depends on the picture and it depends on what I'm writing. But so therein we have the the main reason. That's why people will pay you to write a prompt, because you take less money for it. Now maybe they'll just use the tools themselves and write their own prompts, but maybe they'll. What I think is more likely, and which is why I'm like really annoyed that all of these artists aren't accepting it, aren't more willing to use AI art as a tool, is that the people who are most capable of using AI art to make art that is actually useful, because currently, as you say, the AI tools are really fucking flawed. I see no reason why they would permanently remain flawed. They seem to genuinely believe that there's some inherent problem, even though you've never, not even come close. I mean, we're only 4 minutes in, but I don't see why there's no inherent flaw, as far as I can tell, which would permanently prevent it. But it is currently bad. It is currently not very good at making nice images. See my videos for examples. Most of those are awful. You can see very obvious flaws in them. But if you are an artist, you can spot those flaws much faster than I can. And you can fix those flaws much faster than I can. So if artists sit down and write prompts, they know what they're asking for. They know the kinds of words, they know the kinds of sort of landscape. I mean, obviously I know the difference between landscape and portrait, and you can adjust that settings. But people who know things about art can write better prompts. And they can use the images and adjust them to make better images. Now, why would a person pay you to do that? Because that will take you less time, less effort than if you were to draw an image for each prompt you got. So what you do, so the reason why someone would pay you to write a prompt is because you take $5 where other people take $50. And that's fine for you, because by the time somebody has done a $50 commission, you've done 10 $5 commissions. And this, fun fact, is good for society because it means more people will have access to better quality art. Still bad art, but better quality than they used to have access to, which is whatever they could draw. And let's face it, they couldn't draw. The prompt machine is better than than their sketches. I mean, I can do it myself, and I can prove to you that the prompt machine is better than the sketches. That's why somebody would do that. Question answered.
Pay you to do what a machine
This is fun.
can do. You have to really understand this here, y'all. AI art was put out and is continually being developed to replace AI art. Pay you to do this. Why would anybody pay you to prompt? Why would anybody pay you to do what a machine can do?
Well, ideally, if you could do something the machine can't do, but yeah, you're right. If the machine can do it, then absolutely.
Have to really understand this here, y'all. AI art was put out and is continually being developed to replace artists. But that also means AI users, because why would anybody want to pay you for what anybody in my position could already do and fix and do better anyways? So,
because cheaper. Money! That's the reason. Money! Time is money, friend.
the fact that there is any type of promise, potentially, for some type of job deal? No, totally wrong, my friend.
I'm still not no idea why this has anything to do with how to beat AI. I still have no idea why this has anything to do with AI dying. Like, okay, so there will be no AI artists, but there will be people writing prompts. I should move this a little bit. Not better? Yeah. Oh, I see. Because if I lean this way, it's out there. Makes sense. Oh yeah, if I lean towards that, that's a good way for my brain to figure that out.
I gotta tell you this, there's only gonna be two types of jobs that come about from AI, and that's gonna be in business and in software engineering. Nothing else.
That's an interesting question. A very interesting question. So let's make a massive digression and let's take a little bit of a break before we do that. So, what jobs will new technologies enable? Let's make it a general question, because suppose it was at any other different time. Suppose it was the Luddites. Suppose it was textile mills. What jobs did this create other than factory workers, right? Or engineers? Is my mic really that sensitive? Maybe. Is it the right mic? Maybe not. Do a dish too. Maybe factory workers. Suppose it's factory workers. You might create jobs that are... I'm checking quickly. It is the right one. It's just very sensitive. What jobs do new technologies create? And it kind of is a question of what can new technology facilitate. So... it's not that interesting of a question, because honestly it's just a speculative one. What can you facilitate with this technology? And it's mainly an issue of, if these products are cheaper, can you produce more of them? Will there be more advertising jobs if it's cheaper to produce ads? Or will there be less? Will there be more YouTube jobs if it's cheaper to produce images? Will there be... and potentially, will there be different types of jobs which I can't even think about? So, I don't know. Not sure. I know I'm watching. Why are you telling me there are no viewers? Very, very rude. OBS. Let's continue watching.
In fact, from everybody that I've spoken to in every major art industry that has hired somebody with an AI-based portfolio, they have been very promptly, see what I did there, fired. Because they don't know anything about art, they can't make corrections, and there are severe limitations that they can't overcome. So,
again,
because of that, no, friend, there will never be jobs in AI, so I wouldn't hold your breath on that either. Now,
these things aren't connected at all. It's just so frustrating. Oh my fuck. Okay. There will never be jobs in AI because the the people who apply for jobs with AI art in their portfolios are incompetent. So the argument then is because the people who use AI are incompetent, there will never be AI art will die. It is the dumbest shit I've heard in a while.
Think about this. If normal art has scarce job offerings, why do you think that AI would be any different? However, though, there is one major job field that I do want to give AI credit for. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking all of the cheap clients that none of us want to work with and that never had any respect or dignity for art in the first place. So have at those $10 commissions.
Yeah, good. Oh, $10 commissions. Oh, you're being generous. No, I'm glad that you acknowledge this because this is like the crux of the issue is that the thing that AI art will replace and will the reason AI art is a good thing for society is because all of these people who don't take art seriously enough and they don't respect the art form. All of these people, you pretentious twats. I mean, honestly, if you didn't realize, you're the most pretentious people on the planet. But and all of these people who aren't as pretentious as you about your hobby that you've turned into a job and therefore you have to justify to yourself to make yourself feel like less of a mooch. All of these people are now have their utility increased, to use a philosophical term. They have a better life. They can do more. They have more capacity to do things. Their lives are getting better, and the society in general is getting better because it has access to cheaper, good enough stuff. And that's very good. I'm glad you acknowledge that. And that will massively mellow out my interpretation here because as I'm realizing, now that we're at 5 minutes, we're almost a third of the way through. I'm realizing that the art mentor seems to be addressing something which I think is, my immediate thought is like, is that a straw man? But no, it's probably heard somebody argue that AI artists are the future. And that's obviously retarded. So, if this is what has happened, he has heard somebody make this extremely stupid view. Go for it. This is a good point. Good point. It's a very stupid view. People shouldn't think that AI artists are going to replace normal artists. They should think that AI art is going to significantly push out all the sort of highbrow, taking art seriously and doing it for the right reasons. All of these people are going to get pushed out to the fringes where they belong. Enjoy, Mr. Art Mentor.
Commissions. You earned it. Now, with all of the buzz and the excitement about AI and people coming into it, right? Here's what I want to let you know, friend. The average lifespan of the
I just want to point out, I hate when people call me friends. I know it's such a good rhetorical strategy, but I'm a contrarian and immune to tribalism, thankfully. It's one of my few advantages of being a contrarian is that you're immune to tribalism. But when somebody calls me friend repeatedly, then it's like, well, obviously I'm your enemy.
Average freelance artist is
It's like saying trust me.
1 to 2 years. In AI users, you're currently on month 9 of that. So here's what I want to say. Welcome to the art world, okay? You think that maybe there's a chance for you to make it, but I'm just going to be honest with you. You're currently experiencing the high right now of everybody that graduates art school and thinks that they're going to get into a massive big-time job. However, though, you're going to meet...
You're swapping between different definitions of the problem very quickly. And I think that's confusing you. It's definitely confusing me. I'm like horrendously confused now. Because you're talking about it now, not in the metaphor of the video game. You're talking about it in the context of they're like an artist who's like just seeing the potential of what they could do and could achieve. Yeah, no, I'd argue it's even more fundamental than that. It's not like somebody coming out of art school. It's like somebody starting art school. AI art is so much further behind where you're arguing it is. in terms of like technological development, that I don't think you're really taking it seriously.
Meet the same roadblocks and the same confusions and the same exact obstacles that exist for normal artists in the next.
Why and which ones? Because you need to. This is where you need to point out which ones, because you need to explain why. You need to actually show that these are problems which are like inherent to because like I'm saying, I'm very confused. Why? What is the problems that artists come out? Is it like overconfidence? Is it optimism? Like what is the problem here? And what is like do all of these artists die?
2 years, there will be a mass exodus of AI users because they were promised that there would be thousands of dollars that they could make.
Were they? Who promised them thousands of dollars they could make?
And they're going to be able to change their lives with everything. And it's the same song and dance of every single cheap gimmicking marketing routine that you've ever seen for any type of pyramid scheme.
Pyramid scheme is when the lower members recruit other members to make money off of. There is literally no way you can twist this into being a pyramid scheme. Users is not. This is like why where the games metaphor breaks down. The games want more users. AI art doesn't care, or the commercial success of AI art does not depend on how many users it has. It depends on the success of the few users, of the quality rather than the quantity of users. The few people who can use the tools effectively. Basically, I'm sitting here and you're talking about how actually no, hammers are just a new gimmick. It's just a pyramid scheme. Everyone will stop using hammers soon. We'll all go back to using rocks to bait in. It's like, why? Why will we? Why are you so opposed to the idea that technology can be useful?
All AI users will be facing the same exact competition that all of us real artists already faced. And that's going to cause most of them to be weeded out and to quit.
Oh, I see. You believe that you will win the competition because your quality is better, even though you acknowledge that they can provide a service to people. Okay, so I'm going to tell you why these $10 commissions of the people who didn't really respect art. If you can't tell, I hate that. I hate that. The pretentiousness is fucking disgusting. Anyone who thinks so highly of their own art form just doesn't have a clue. Anyway, the people who don't respect your art form are a bigger group, and they have more money in total than the people who do. So actually, I think the evidence indicates that if there is a competition and one side has to win and one side has to lose, which I don't think it is, then AI art will win. But I very much don't think this is the case, and I very much want artists to stop thinking this is the case, because their knowledge, like he points out, the knowledge and skills and tools you have and understanding you have for making art is now necessary to use these tools to their maximum. And maybe there's a point in the future where you can tell ChatGPT what you want and it'll explain it and it'll write its own prompts. And maybe you can use like 7 different layers of AI to figure out, so we don't even have to think anymore. But this is a future several generations ahead of us, at least. And I don't think, or behind us maybe, but I don't think that this is... I think that artists should be using these tools more than they are. And so I think this idea of there is a competition and either the traditional artist or the AI artist will win is false. AI art is a tool. It is here to stay. It will keep getting better and better alongside both computing power and software development. Now, all of the software development might plateau out, as he suggests, as will eventually the Moore's law, which is already 1.5 times rather than twice. Look it up. I think it's Moore's law. The doubling of the transistor capacity, whatever, or the halving of the size. The progress of technology of the machines, of the computers, will continue to make AI art better, more capable. And so even if there is some plateau to the software, the progress in just human society and having more and more resources available to use for things, well, AI art can currently produce a higher quantity of art than traditional artists, and so for less time and effort, for less money. So by all means, I'm just saying that if an artist who has spent the time and effort to learn their craft makes an AI prompt and fixes it, then if you do the $5, $50 example, you did a $50 commission to draw something. Don't know if that's a lot, by the way. Maybe it's a little, maybe it's very little, maybe it's a lot. I'm poor, okay? Give me some slack. But anyway, if you get a $50 commission for traditional artists and they make traditional artwork, and you have the $5 commission from the AI artists who only uses AI tools, and then you have somewhere in the middle, you have a traditional artist who uses AI art tools. This person can undercut the traditional artist who only draws, and therefore steal all the jobs of the people who are making traditional art. But they can also steal all the jobs of the AI artists whose quality isn't high enough. So the basic question here now is this pretentiousness, is this standard that you're holding art to, this sort of idealism we're holding art to, is it necessary? Is this something that society wants, needs, or benefits from in a meaningful... is this something society benefits from in an economic sense? Is there a money amount that can be attached to it? If there isn't a money amount that can be attached to the benefit of having art made by artists who are drawing it by hand, then it'll lose. Money always wins.
Within the next couple of years. Because once those 15 seconds of fame are done, once all the followers don't care about everything that's going on with them, once they lose that crowd, who's going to want to buy their images?
Who's buying their... I mean, the people who already buy images... So yeah, is the quality standard you're setting for yourself excessive compared to what they need it for? In an ad, for example, you're showing this picture for 2 seconds in an ad. Does it need to be as good as this image, for example? No, of course not. Obviously, artists would also reduce the amount of effort, but they can never go down to as little effort as it takes AI art. It will always take traditional artists more time, more money, more effort to make these things. And they can always reach a higher quality of standard. I think eventually they won't. I think eventually we'll get to a point where the quality is similar, especially if you use traditional artists using AI art. But even if it will always be a quality leap when you're drawing it by hand, the question then is this leap in quality worth it? Is this worth paying 10 times as much for this increase in quality? And I think in the vast majority of cases, it won't be. Maybe rich people will buy your art to hang in their living room, and they'll take some sort of sick pleasure in knowing that somebody toiled away for hours and hours drawing it. But most people just want something that looks pretty. And as long as you can get up to looks pretty enough, you're golden. You beat everyone else.
I'm curious a phenomena regarding AI users right now is their own cannibalism. Have you seen this? Have you ever noticed this?
No.
There's a lot of infighting amongst all of them.
Is there?
Now, do artists fight? Yes, of course we do. And naturally, not all of us are nice to each other, okay? However, though, I really see a curiosity happening with all AI users right now, which is essentially that they're trying to protect their prompts and they're trying to sell their prompts. And then they get mad when someone buys those prompts and then shares it with the rest of the world. And then compounding on top of that issue, they're also trying to copyright all of their prompts so that they own them. Like, you can't own words. How hypocritical is that, by the way? So you're telling artists
You can own words, but I understand your point you're making.
that we can't have our images, that we can't own what we produce. However, you're trying to...
Okay, so he's referencing here the idea that we're using, or that AI art is trained. Or I'm assuming, because he's not explicitly saying it, I'm assuming he's referencing the fact that AI art is trained on traditional art. And so that means that they don't own it. I think this is indistinguishable from normal artists, traditional artists learning by watching traditional art. I don't see why why the principle of ownership specifically applies to training AI models. What you post it online, it's public. I can see it with my own eyes. Then that's all I need. Like the ownership you have is you can remove it, and so I can't check it again. But like, so what? Having checked it, having seen it, having trained myself on something that is available, yeah, that's not a violation of your ownership right. That's you saying that after... It's like somebody selling me something and saying, oh, you can't use it for that. Or somebody showing me a billboard and not me drawing a caricature of it. It's like, oh, no, you're not allowed to use my art like that. Of course I am. Of course I am. You do not have ownership of how people use your product. You sell it, you make it, you produce it, you share it however you want, and as soon as you've shared it, everyone else can use it as they want, as long as they don't reproduce the image as is. That's it. They have to not reproduce. If you add stuff to it, if you make a caricature of it, if you expand upon it, go ahead. You should probably still cite them, but you got the fair use defense. You can go far or go on. DMCA this whole shit.
To safeguard what you didn't produce in the words that you don't own, like you own some section of the English dictionary. That's so lame.
I don't like you. Because this is a straw man. Like earlier when I said it was probably a straw man, it wasn't a straw man. This is definitely 100% without a doubt a straw man. The straw man here is... It is theoretically possible for someone to own a series of words in a specific order. So so that's the whole point. That was the end of my sentence. It is possible for someone to own these words, and you're flippantly dismissing it as if it's some sort of absurd hypothesis and throwing it into the comparison, which I don't think is fair. And you also don't even explicitly point it out.
So nonsensical, don't you think?
No, I don't think.
Make any sense? And that
I think what you're saying makes no sense. What's the cannibalism?
So lame. That is so...
Okay, so the cannibalism is the competitiveness in attempting to copyright the prompts. That's not cannibalism. That's you using cannibalism here is you using the most egregious words you can think of to describe... Jesus Christ. Why? Why am I listening to this? Why am I wasting my time on this? I'm wasting my time because I thought he was going to make an interesting point. I was very anti in the first 3 minutes. And then someplace in around 5-6 minutes, I was like, oh yeah, that is an interesting point. Oh yeah, maybe you're arguing against something else. And it is clear, he is arguing against something else. He's arguing against people who, for some reason, clearly delusional people. I think we'll both agree on that. Clearly delusional people who think they have a career as prompt writers. As if their skill in writing prompts will be more valuable than the skills you learn from actually doing art. Obviously not the case. Okay, well I think that's the compromise position. Probably don't want to watch any more of this.
It's time we talked about.
Yeah, I didn't want to watch any more of that. Deep breath. Okay. Sam does arts. Why artists are fed up with AI art.
So if you've been on social media recently, you've probably seen a lot of talk about AI generated art. In order to understand the severity of the issue surrounding AI art, we have to understand how AI works. When an AI creates a piece of art, it doesn't generate that content.
I just realized there was something I wanted to see.
AI art, as you know it,
It's obviously not flatlining.
and you are deeply passionate about art, and you're really nervous that AI is still going to be a pervasive force, might be taking away jobs and opportunities from you. I want to rest you assured right now, friend, it's definitely not. And in fact, it is so flawed that I made an entire video right here that's going to tell you everything that you need to do starting right now to beat AI art. Hey, artists, you might be worried.
See, a good thing. The way he's speaking, right, has started to get under my skin. So I'm gonna watch another video in between this. Whew.
And out of thin air. Instead, there needs to be an input in order for there to be an output. In the big picture, machine learning companies such as Stability AI generate profits from high quality media. And the creation of this media depends entirely on training their AI on a specific data set. These images are made by assembling visual data that have statistical correlations to each other to produce a final result that looks acceptable. That's a very simplified explanation, but that's the gist of how AI systems work.
Pretty
All you
good.
gotta know is in order for that image to be generated, there has to be a data set. And that is where the problem comes in. In these data sets, there exists billions of copyrighted images, of artworks, of photographs, of people, all of which was collected from the internet without the consent of the intellectual property owner. My personal
So what?
artwork that I share on my Instagram page has been used to train AI models. And chances are, if you've shared your work online or even images of yourself, your house, your environment, you might have been included in these datasets. And if you guys want a really great in-depth look on this topic, I recommend Steven Zapata's video, which I'm gonna link in the description.
I remember starting this video and getting really... I think I started it on this channel. Getting really annoyed. So, open that in another one.
Below. The problem here is your artwork and my artwork, the moment we share them online, they are opted in to the system. If your work so much
Yes, exactly. The moment you share art, then it can be viewed and used by people to learn how to make new art. Oh.
just exists online, it will be found and it will be used in a piece of AI art. And we as artists are not being protected. This is genuinely an industrial scale violation of each and every one of our rights. Stability AI.
Specific rights need to be addressed here. What are your rights that are being violated? Do you have use rights? Do you get to decide how people use the content you share? There are no rights that I can see that are being violated. You don't have the right to decide how people use the information. You have shared this online so that other people can see it. This means other people includes the people making these machines. Training these machines is logic or like functionally indistinguishable from training a person. They viewed things, they spot patterns, and they train themselves to reproduce these patterns.
Has claimed, quote, because diffusion models are prone to memorization and overfitting, releasing a model trained on copyrighted data could potentially result.
Prone to memorization and that's an interesting one. So I guess so. I remember thinking about this because the real crux of the issue is can AI systems so like if I'm stealing art from you, it's not just that I'm looking at your work, copying it, copying your style. It's actually that I'm reproducing works. But if you think about it in like context of say music and video and how you use it in DMCA on YouTube, that you have this concept of fair use. You have this concept of, which is actually more fundamental. You have this concept of if people can replace the content you're producing with a new content. So say that I make a video and somebody reacts to it on their channel and they just sit there staring at the video making no comments whatsoever. Then in theory somebody who wanted to watch my video could just watch their video. And therefore they're stealing my effort, or like they're stealing my effort. I have economic loss directly because of this. And so this is like the crux of the issue, because of course AI artists will experience economic loss. And the question then is this because they are offering a service which is similar enough to it, or is it because they are simply selling the same product? And here we have that, because diffusion models are prone to memorization and overfitting. It's indicating that it is possible for these diffusion models to accidentally recreate artworks. And if you recreate an artwork, then you have a copyright issue, a really big copyright. And if this happens, like, if you can figure out how to trick diffusion models into doing this consistently, then you can just create copyright issues. You can just make your own case suit by just figuring out how the prompts work. That's an interesting question. I think it's still false. I think it's still as long as they're sufficiently distinguishable. If we like go back a little bit to this one, right?
Piece of AI art.
You see, 100% sure the model trained as this works, but if we see,
it will be found.
All of these are sufficiently different. Like, sure, they're in the same art style, very cool art style, very unique, almost certainly invented by this person, but it's also based on similar different things. And you could also argue very effectively that these kinds of artworks can replace the original artist, because it sort of captures the quaintness of it, the quaintness of the art style. But they're all significantly different. None of them are a reproduction. Maybe that one is very close. Yeah, that one's very close, but it's because the house is the same. The house is pretty much the same. I mean, there are some fringe cases but it's still within the realm of, if I did that by hand, it wouldn't be a problem. And I think that's my way of testing, is like, if I did that by hand, would it be a problem? And I think if I drew this image by hand, or made it, obviously this is not hand drawn, if I made it in whatever program you could use to make these kinds of images, then I don't think that would be viable for a copyright claim by Dark Pfizer. So
Diffusion models are prone to memorization and overfitting. Releasing a model trained on copyrighted data could potentially result in legal issues, basically admitting to the fact that their models directly use copyrighted content. And many of these generated images tend to look identical to their original copyrighted counterparts. Images and text descriptions are taken from the internet.
Tend to look identical. That's something you need to defend.
Models directly use copyrighted content.
Yeah, they're admitting something which is very obvious, yes.
And many of these generated images tend to look identical to their original copyrighted counterparts.
Many of these generated images tend to look identical. I mean, I understand that this is identical to the picture. It's a very nice picture. But the statement is too vague. What is being generated that is so identical? Are they saying that if you give in certain sets of prompts? Are they saying that if you train it on only one image? Yeah, if you train it on only one image, then it will only reproduce one image. I don't understand. And if you're telling it to reproduce an image, then it'll only reproduce that image. If you're telling it to reproduce it as faithfully as possible, it'll try and reproduce. Like you can plug in a picture into many of these programs and get a picture out. That's not what training means, by the way. That's a different process. But if you plug in a picture and you get a picture out, it'll be very similar. And there's also a setting on at least on the one I use, where you can change how much noise is added. And if you add as little noise as possible, then the generated image will be as close to the original image as possible. Add as much noise as possible, then you'll add. So I don't know, maybe there's like... So legally, the argument then is that there is a minimum amount of noise necessary to be added to diffusion models. That's an argument, I guess.
Images and text descriptions are taken from the internet through a practice called data mining, which allows these companies to accumulate an incomprehensible amount of data. And these corporations have intentionally targeted legal loopholes to allow them to do this. Stability AI itself funded the creation of the largest dataset being used, which is called Lion 5B. This dataset contains 5.8 billion points of image and text data, including copyrighted data and private data. This non-consensual practice of using copyrighted data...
Private data is bad. The idea that using copyrighted data for these models is bad is something I just simply do not accept. You need to make a better argument than this. I need something to convince me that this is different than humans learning from other humans. What's the problem? Why is it a problem when it's an algorithm written on a computer instead of an algorithm in somebody's head?
In commercial products is illegal. But here is where it gets really, really messy. Now, this database Lion 5B, which is most widely used for AI generation, was created with the pretext of research. But the corporations behind the funding of this research quickly turned it into a commercialized product, which now include Dream Studio. Pretext of research for AI generation was created with the pretext of research. But the corporations behind the
I'm not sure what the
funding of this research quickly turned it into a commercialized product, which now include Dream Studio and Stable Diffusion, both owned by Stability AI. And now the app Lensa AI has been charging money for specific avatar packs, and as a result of which these companies are now making massive amounts of profit. This loop...
What's the problem? The problem is you don't think research should be able to make a profit?
allows these companies to weave their way through legal...
They're not... Okay, let's take a moment and focus on the word here, copyright. It is the right to copy your artwork. Now, the right to copy your artwork and distribute these copies, fixate on this word. The right to share these images that you've made is not possessed by these companies. The right to look at these images that you've made is, except with private images, owned by, is valid. They have the right to look at these images. What they do in their brains when they look at them, they're free to do. And I think, by the same token, what they do with the writing of their code, what their code does with it, is also open to it. As long as they don't copy the image, then they're safe. They don't have the copyright, and that means they don't have the right to copy it. That doesn't mean they don't have the right to view it, and it doesn't mean they don't have the right to use it. It means that they don't have the right to copy it. That still have the right to use your artwork that you have posted publicly. Jesus Christ.
Regulations which are put in place to protect...
Squeeze out artists from process of using images for any profit. Okay, I want to make an example. I learned to draw watching Donald Duck or reading Donald Duck comics. And if I then, somebody commissions an artwork from me, should I then pay part of that to whoever wrote the Donald Duck comics I liked? No, of course not. But I would not be able to make a commission for any artwork without this input. But I don't think anyone thinks that I should pay them a commission just because I learned from them. And this is like the intrinsic point here. Why are you trying? Well, I know why, but let's pretend I don't know why. Why are you trying to add an artificial barrier for AI, which you don't add for other artists? And I think the reason why, because you're genuinely concerned that they will steal your jobs, which you should be, they will, and it will be a good thing when they do. But it's like you're saying there's a system we now have in place which can make a tool we now have which can make these products so much easier and so much cheaper to produce, and you're saying, damn it, we're gonna have to make it more expensive. No, you don't have. They don't have the copyright, but they don't need it. I don't see why they do.
The copyrighted work of artists and creatives. And this process has been fittingly described as data laundering. And a lot of users even go as far as to use directly the names of certain artists to create their generated content. For example,
True.
Concept artist Greg Rutkowski, you've probably heard of him. He has had his name used 250,000 times between Stability AI and Midjourney's AI platforms. Not only is the collection of copyrighted content of legal concern, but so is this. When AI generations are made to look like an artist's work, this has the potential for reputation damage, for forgery, for fraud, for...
That's a big problem with AI generation in general, like voice and image generation, or is this we are going into a world where and we've been going into it very slowly, but we're going into a world where forgeries are getting harder and harder to tell the difference from the real thing, and this is a process that has been ongoing for quite a long time. And basically what I'm trying to get at here is that people said the same things that you're now saying about Photoshop didn't really happen. Forgive me for not buying into your doomerism.
Identity theft. And what's most concerning is that when these models are trained on images of your artwork, they are unable to forget. So almost all of these models are now working with tainted data. Their generations now all involve
tainted data.
Copyrighted content which has been gathered without the knowledge or permission of the copyright.
I don't think they should need the permission or the knowledge.
Owner. It is directly hurting artists who have put their passion and their soul into everything that they create.
The idea that you should be paid for your hobby and that we should glorify this is obscene.
It's only for their work to be scraped from...
Okay, I'm being more rude than I need to be. It is clear that artists enjoy their work. And because of this, I know that they will continue even when we steal all their jobs with computers. So maybe this is very cynical of me. Of course it's very cynical of me. But we know that artists will steal, or we know that we're trying to steal or to reduce the amount of work artists have available to them by making it cheaper and easier to produce similar quality. What is my point? I don't even care anymore.
The internet without their permission and used in training AI models. So
this is why me responding to videos is so annoying, because I'm not just sitting here. It's the same point. It's the same point. It's the same point. Somebody, why is using copyright art for AI wrong? Question mark. Electronic Frontier Foundation. This could be an... Let's see. Opinion. Copyright Office making a mistake. A rule against copyrighting AI art will be okay. Interesting. Yeah. Ah, see, this is somebody who agrees with me. I might agree with me. He's dealing with a different issue, so he's not like. Okay. Hard to skip. Oh. Okay. I'm going to end the stream because I'm bored. And, oh, no, actually, we can just play some place up. Ah, I'm still bored. I'm gonna save and return. Yeah, fuck it. I'm bored, so I'm gonna make 2 points. Make 2 points. Points are: number 1, if art is something that is useful for society, then it is more useful to have more of it, which will happen if it's cheaper. So the first point is that if AI art begins to replace traditional art, this will be a good thing. This will mean that more people have access to it. In the same way that when making clothes was industrialized, it meant that more people had access to clothes. Many of the things we now have, like being able to sell t-shirts as merch, is facilitated by the fact that machines make our clothes. So that's point number 1. If this is good, if art is useful for society, then it will be replaced. If it is not useful, then it will not be replaced. And if it is useful for society if it is useful for society and therefore is replaced, then it is a good. And if it is not useful for society and therefore isn't replaced, then it's neutral or bad or whatever. The second point is that having a copyright is having a right to copy something. You do not need a copyright to learn from something. Somebody who reads my work, say we use it for writing instead, and you have ChatGPT learning from reading. Let's not do Voltaire, that's too far in the past. Let's do like somebody who still has a copyright, like Pratchett, my favorite author, by the way. Say that a stable ChatGPT reads all of Pratchett and he starts generating Discworld-esque stories. Maybe not in Discworld because that would be a copyright violation. But they're creating stories which have the same sort of cadence and tone and way of speaking and way of sort of appealing to you. That's very Pratchett. And which I don't think most people could imitate. This wouldn't be a violation of copyright because they're not reproducing the product. They're just making a new product based on the old product, being inspired by. And the difference here is that humans, or whether it's humans or machines that are being inspired. And I don't think that's a necessary or worthwhile distinction. So that's the 2 points. If art is replaced, it's a good thing. And if it's not a good thing, then it won't be replaced. And the second point is that you shouldn't need the copyright in order to learn from your artwork if it's online. If it's private, then you should. But if it's online, if you're sharing it with other people who can learn from it normally, then having computers learn from it is not particularly different. So thank you, no one, for watching, and thank you myself, as always, for being so clever and wise and cunning and understanding and thoughtful and not rude at all. Not even a little bit rude. Definitely not. Definitely not an asshole. Have fun, everyone.